Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with AmericanScouser.com. And I found a new body. Actually, Gally has recruited us a new body from Rhode Island. We have Trevor with us. Trevor, what's happening, man?
Not too bad. Happy to be the lesser of two TUs coming to the table this
Oh, you know
morning.
what? Yeah, I just noticed that. Good one. I know about lesser, but we'll go with that. Yeah, so you are from the Rhode Island area, right?
Yes, yes.
And so Trevor is going to be joining us, keeping us company, and pretty soon you'll be seeing a lot more of Trevor, hopefully on like YouTube channel and stuff as well as we do a lot. Thinking of like doing a lot for like the World Cup as well, but that's in
Oh
the
yeah.
works. Before I forget, actually, let's ask you this too. But I mentioned it on yesterday's broadcast. I mentioned on Monday's broadcast. The FIFA tournament is coming back. It's less than a week till the game comes out now. Are you a gamer, Trevor?
I'll say mildly, and I put it in that sense because I'm trash at everything I play. I play and I entertain, but no. If we get into this league and people want easy wins, then recruit me because I will get a nice bicycle kick here and there, but I'm just gonna get stopped most of the times.
Alan is
I'll be
with us
there to
as
be the
always. Good
excited.
morning, Alan. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Alan in this tournament of all things. But yeah, we're getting more and more people into the Discord channel, onto that specific channel on our server or the fan channel server for that. So we're gonna see how many people are Xbox, how many people are PlayStation, and like kind of like determine what we're gonna do from there. Okay, so let's get to the news, which is what we're here for this morning. I think the only Liverpool, like newsworthy Liverpool thing I saw. I mean, obviously we were talking about it yesterday as well online. Is Arthur playing with the U21s? What do you make of that ordeal?
I didn't read too much into it. I didn't see it as a demotion or anything. I think it was more just trying to get him some his legs back a little bit. It was funny that I was going through the thing and scrolling through it this morning, just kind of a little bit of prep. And the person that he came in for in the game was Jay Spearing, which was a bit of a blast from the past. And you're sitting there just going, oh my God, this was. And everybody, when they show, if you were here for Liverpool when you were watching this team, Jay Spearing is always in all those photos. So that brought me back to that point. But circumventing back to Arthur, I think it's just something that he probably needed game time and he wasn't going to get it with no fixtures on the cards right now. So pop it with the U21s.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd ordeal. Yeah, I mean, he's doing it because he's not like in game shape, which is, I don't know, like this whole summer has been very aggravating in that sense of how we have handled it, because we waited for it had to be the right player, but the right player was a guy out of shape.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's just, yeah, I mean, and he's not a bad player at all. I think in some ways he suits and he'll be good depth. I don't know if we would spend that much money on depth, but obviously he has to kind of get a shot to see what he can do. I would think right now he'd be a regular in the cup games. But especially, we were talking about it yesterday's broadcast with Henderson coming back, Thiago back, and hopefully these guys stay back. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, but I mean, he got another 60 minutes in. So I don't know if 60 minutes in U21 translates into like 20 minutes in Premier League or whatever it's going to be, but
I don't
he's
know the
able
math.
to, yeah, if he's able to at least finish games. I mean, what do you think of the player itself?
I think he's a guy who brings a skill set that is able to, yeah, like you said, provide cover for a lot of the regulars. Go in and just kind of be a light version of Hendo, Thiago, Fabinho, all those guys. Not better than any of them, in my opinion, but enough, like you said, to finish a game where you need somebody to just plug into a certain spot, given an injury or just
Yeah.
late game situations. I think he's a guy that can do that if he's motivated. And if there's anybody that's going to try to pull something out of a guy who's partially motivated, it's probably Jurgen.
And I mean, it's nice to see that he is doing this. I mean, I'm assuming he is doing this or he wants to do this
Yeah.
to kind of like earn minutes. Because, like I was saying yesterday, or was that maybe like on our podcast, that this is an opportunity for him to kind of like revive the career and join a club that's a top club and kind of like reboost his career after leaving Barcelona, going to Juventus, and obviously it did not work out. So kudos to him to kind of like go at it, that he really wants this. He wants to make a difference. I think he's in a good situation. We do have like a little Brazilian gang going, so I'm sure it's easier for him to fit in. Not that Juventus didn't, but I think it's easier for him to fit in. And I agree. I think he's that guy that is a combination of a bunch of our guys and not necessarily better, but it's somebody more experienced. I think when you're putting like when you're putting like a young player in, as promising as they can be, to finish off a game, there's a reason why we see Milner over and over again in the last 20 minutes of games, because well, A, he's the only healthy one. But B, it's sometimes because that age comes discipline, I think, positional discipline, and not to get excited and keep going, or, leave your area open or whatever to concede a goal. So I think sometimes you get that with not younger players. They can get caught in the game. I think that's what you get with Arthur, with experience. I don't think you're going to get that. So it's a good person, like you're saying, to finish off a game instead of like trotting out Milner every single game.
Yeah,
the last 20 minutes. Just start Milner and then just trot out Arthur afterwards.
Yeah.
What did you make of it? Obviously, I mean, you were not with us in the past when we were constantly talking about that. But what did you think of the whole ordeal with our transfer, especially for obviously midfield in the off season?
So that it's something where the phrase if it's not broken, don't fix it, is something that works in certain sports, but it's never something that happens in football, because you never know when the wheels are going to fall off. And I think this year is something where and I heard you guys talking about it on several different, both in the morning and on the podcast, where all of those endeavors that they were going on, trying to go for the quad last year and competing on all the cup fronts and in the Champions League in these past couple of years, just going full throttle, has really just worn out some of these guys, and not having the necessary cover or younger replacements for these guys who are going to just by process of elimination get big time injuries at some point. They're never going to stay healthy forever, and not addressing that beforehand and kind of being reactionary and getting Arthur at the dying seconds as kind of a knee-jerk, have to just do it to do it type of move, is never the greatest thing. And I really think that it's something where hopefully in the January window they can kind of get Naby out of there, make some money off of that, and kind of reinvest it, and not super splashy signings, but just get some guys in there that you can spell Trent for a cup game, or you can in a trip where they're in, especially with all the reschedulings, you're going to have 3 fixtures in a week. You don't have to run Mo into the ground. And that means if you have to do kind of more of a youth game against like in the next time around against Bournemouth, and save some of these guys that, maybe you want to pound Bournemouth again, great. But at the same time, you have to kind of just take everything into account. And with the roster as it stands, without the reinforcements, you can't really do all those 4 front type of deals anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's, and like I say, we talked about this before, but I think it's a lot on Klopp. I know like everybody tries to dump it on FSG, but he does not like to manage large squads. And that's why I think instead of managing a larger squad, he'd rather give up on, which we've done in the past, right? Like the League Cup and FA Cup, and they're like, the hell with those. We'll go after the 2 important ones kind of deal. And And I guess because, when we go for all those and obviously win them even and go for the quad, it kind of like affected everything else moving forward. It doesn't help. I mean, here's the thing, like we kind of constantly talk about, going for the quad and these guys being tired because of games. But maybe if FIFA didn't sell out and we didn't have a World Cup in the middle of winter and we actually had a proper offseason that was the regular length, maybe it could have been different. And I think, and Klopp has admitted this, that we did not manage that very well, hence a lot of the injuries and things like that. But going back to what you were saying, I think, it's one thing to stay put and say, okay, we got it over here, we don't need a lot of changes. But you had all these guys who are regularly injured, so it's never should be a shock for you for them to be injured again, like Ox and the Keitas of the world, and even like Thiago. So this Arthur move, it does look like a knee-jerk thing. The more we find out in terms of him trying to, get into game shape and stuff like that. It's not like we were monitoring and he was the fifth on the list or something like that. It was more like, okay, who else is left? I mean, we should get somebody. And then they're like, there's that guy. They're like, yeah, I guess get him in. I mean, it's not a huge risk. And that was the issue, I think, is by the time he was going to be ready, we were going to get more, the reinforcements were going to be back. So it's not a guy, I mean, we needed a guy who could come in right there and play right away, which we know Klopp hates doing. I mean, even Fabinho, how long did it take for him to get going? So we needed that. So now by the time Arthur gets into game shape, we're going to have some of these boys back. I mean, Hendo is already back. Obviously, Thiago is back. But having said that, you look at that October schedule, and it's like, holy shit, that's, we're going to need rotation. So everybody is going to be
thick and fast.
And then, we got 2 more games like postponed. They're going to be worked in somewhere after the World Cup probably. So that's going to make it like even worse. So Alan is sending us a bunch of headlines to kind of like touch up on. And we had one that we wanted to get to as well. I saw this morning. West Ham shirt sponsored by $400,000 for advertising with links to gamble on coloring. And I mean, here's the thing. I did not realize, I just saw the headline and didn't read the full story. I thought it was like, they forgot the banner on the kids page, but if it was like really designs for it, that's, I mean, sometimes you see these things, Trevor, and it's like, dude, who
they look
the
like
hell
onion
is in charge of this?
They look like onion headlines, and you're sitting there just going, all right, am I just going to click this link and get rickrolled? No. Oh, it's a real thing. They thought that putting coloring books for kids on a gambling site was a good.
It's like
my brain's breaking.
These things, we know things like this, especially in big companies, take so many goddamn meetings and so many people are involved in it. It's not like one guy, like intern says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do coloring. That has to run by a bunch of people.
Yeah. That kind of
I don't understand how somewhere along the way somebody's like, dude, this doesn't even sound right.
No.
But no, shit happens like this all the time. Or maybe they did give it to an intern and he's like, come up with a promotion for kids. Let's lure some kids over there. I saw this as why Chelsea sacked the senior executive Damien less than a month after appointing him amid claims of sexual harassment. I didn't see what the texts were. I know Alan's got connections, so if you know what the exact texts were, let us know. I don't know what inappropriate texts were. Like, is he just asking for a date, or I don't know what he's asking for. Either way, I'm sure his wife is not going to appreciate that. So another thing we wanted to get to that I'm so glad you brought up, because I am personally not a huge fan of his, and I kind of like not, especially when the talks were there, was not keen on him, mostly for his injury history at the time. And it's kind of continued to translate in the league as well. I thought the price tag didn't justify what we will be getting when he was leaving Dortmund and coming over to Chelsea. And he has spent a lot of time injured. And I know when people look at it now and he was like, oh, he hasn't been injured. I mean, that has been managed really well. If anything, I think Liverpool can learn from what Chelsea have done with Pulisic in terms of, playing him sparingly, 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, to keep him healthy, and maybe apply the same thing to somebody like Ox and stuff like that, who is always injured. But
Yeah.
so his
Oh,
book, right? His book comes out like, or is coming out,
It's on
whatever
pre-order right
paperwork.
now. If you want to go give it a look, see, it's probably on Amazon.
Oh, is it? I thought it was like coming out. They were teasing it or something like that. But
It's not even out. It's on like pre-order, and they're just throwing out these little excerpts, and they're just so far a little bit chef's kiss winery.
Nice. So he is talking about complaining about like, obviously since he left, I'm sure this tidbit would not come out right away. And this is the awkward part. Was this going to come out if Tuchel didn't get fired? Like, was that going to be in the book?
That's the thing where he had. This isn't. I don't think this is something that was written in a week. This is something that he's had, and it's run through publishers, and they've done all of this work. And what if, unless he knew from like there's some relationship with Bully or something coming in, going, knowing that Tuchel's on the way out, why would you even have this in the works? Like, you're not retired, dude. Like, he could still potentially be your coach, and you're just gonna put out this book where your memoirs when you're 20. Come on.
Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Like, he could go somewhere else where it's like Tuchel is the coach again. It's like, damn it. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Why it's just everything about it. The comments themselves come off as quasi entitled and kind of whiny, where it's the whole situation itself is just very just first class problems. And then the timing of it is going, he could have still been your manager. And then you release it, and they're just releasing it through the channels as like publicity. This isn't like a leak or anything.
Yeah.
What if he was still there? You think you don't play now? Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. What if he is still there? So would they like just delay the book? They're like, we're gonna have to wait till he gets fired. I mean, to be honest, he is not talking. Well, actually, he is. We'll get to the second part. I mean, this part right here, he's more like, oh, I was shocked, I was disappointed. So we'll get to the second part in a bit, where he's almost like, I did good at times when I didn't listen to him, kind of bullshit. But so it's not a good deal. So they're like, Tuchel is definitely gonna get fired. We'll release this somewhere in like December. Then, like, he'll definitely be fired by then, kind of a deal. It kind of seems like a very risky ordeal.
Yeah. And I really just, when I was hearing discussions about it, just thinking, if this is the hill to die on, complaining about not getting a start in a Champions League semifinal, that's where you felt slighted. And it's not like they pulled some kid out of the academy to play in his place. They put in Kai Havertz, the guy who would end up scoring the winning goal in the final. And you still got into the game and made the game-sealing assist, which at some point you said that you were so wound up from the slight, you wanted to go out and play better. So the fire that he lit under you allowed you to play better. Where is the complaint? What is the problem? You don't understand why this is such a huge thing.
I mean, yeah, Tuchel could be like, see what I did there? You know, in terms of like, see what I did there? I didn't start you, but that you were even better coming off the bench because of it or whatever.
It's crazy.
Okay, this is the part that it really got to me more. But adding further insight to his strained relationship with Tuchel, he says that his goal against Madrid came after ignoring advice from his then manager. As I take off on the run, I hear Thomas yelling from the sideline, Christian, stay in the pocket, don't make the run. But I just had the feeling I'd find the space and get on the end of the pass, so I continued the run. And then he gets it. So, I mean, how many times as a player have you done this? And when it pays off, you still get the thing from a coach saying like, you know, yeah, that worked, but don't freaking do it again. Because there's a reason why you're being told not to do it. Because, you know, sometimes the manager's playing the percentages. That's part one. Because that might work 1 out of 10 times, but 9 out of 10 you might leave your pocket empty and somebody's going to make a run on that in a crucial game and you're going to concede. So maybe it's not worth taking the chance. And second of all, how many times have you, forget the playing part, even as you're watching, you see a guy wind up and you're like, dude, don't take a shot from there. And then it goes in, we're like, okay, well, if you're going to take that shot, then go for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for him to like say something like that seems so like it looks like the memoirs of a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we were talking before we got going, it's the old no go where you're just going, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, okay. You went in. That's great. Please. And it's the constant thing when Hendo likes to take his shots from like 35 yards out and they end up in the ninth row. The one time that he's going to hit it and it's going to curl down and go in the top corner, we're all going to scream and cheer. But every other time, we're just going to just have our heads in our hands, just screaming obscenities because that's and this is what happened to him. He goes, all right, he ignored, and it seems like it's an isolated incident where it was one thing in one game. Like you said, it's playing the percentages. Madrid has a team that has fullbacks that can just bomb up at a moment's notice. So to leave that space empty is not well advised. All right, you snuck through, and if you watch the goal, it's something where it's not like he ran past 7 people on this run and then got it. He made a very well placed but simple run, got the ball and scored. It's great, and I bet you Tuchel was on the sidelines, raring to go, be like, yeah, all right, here we go, got this, yada yada yada. But it just seems petty. And it goes back to the same thing of if he was still your manager and you're sitting there going, oh man, look at all these times that I ignored his instructions. What an idiot. And and then you like go to training the next day and it's like, oh, guess where the idiot's playing you today? Over with the youth team. Enjoy that. Tell them the idiot sent you. And I just don't understand how this, and I get it from a certain perspective. And you go back to what you were talking about with the price tag. There's always this ego that comes with being a high money signing, an American going to a team that has high visibility, and you really want to impress. And when you feel like you get those opportunities taken away from you, it hurts your commercial value. All of these factors that these guys, the commercial value, we can talk about Mbappe if you want, but it's something where they see just slights and just negatives towards themselves that aren't really there. And they just put that out into the world in the most petty and just really tone deaf of ways.
Yeah, I think his too much pressure commercial, and then talking about, I think the criticism he gets, and I think a lot of fans, especially when he was the guy, it was at least pushed as, and they didn't qualify for the World Cup. I think he gets a lot of criticism, and I think some of it is because he goes around like he's entitled, and I think that's wrong. I actually think there are players in the U.S. national team who are better than Pulisic overall, and going to be better players in the long run, mainly due to a better attitude and approach. But at the same time, I don't know, that's because these guys are kind of shielded from becoming Pulisic, because Pulisic is over there getting all the attention, and it's kind of like an umbrella, while all these other younger talents underneath can kind of go around and do their thing and improve their game in top clubs and be probably better players. So I'm sure like that can go kind of hand in hand as well. Alan says, is Trevor a Brandon basher? Because thanks to Mecca, that has been a prerequisite and a requirement for appearing on the morning show. What are your thoughts on Brandon Rodgers?
So as it goes for his career, there's a lot of things that come with Brendan Rodgers that are just laughable. I think a lot of his just off the field man management tactics are just slapstickily hilarious. They're just there's things that you do with like an 8-year-old team, and he's trying to do them with professionals, and it's just not you can't even get mad at it. But I think as a manager, he gets a lot of stick for things that he does that I think are out of his control.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, he does a lot of things where just take, for instance, his loyalty to certain guys in certain positions where he will just run them into the ground, will never change anything. He's so pig-headed. And we all saw it with Liverpool. We saw it with Celtic, and now we're seeing it with Leicester. He's got these guys who are so out of form or so just beat up and can't do what they do anymore. And he just keeps running them out there. And that's where you're going to get guys like Fofana are going, all right, this guy who can't run more than like a mile an hour is getting time over me. Yeah, I got hurt at one point, but I'm going to be in like the French national team for the next 10 years. And I can't beat this stiff for a spot in the team. I don't know what I need to do. So get me out of here. And he's done that everywhere he's been. And he just alienates people. And he's, I don't know. He's a guy that if you had, all right, I'll put it this way. If he's at your team for 2 years, you may win some stuff. If he's at your team for more than 2 years, you've done something wrong and bad things are going to happen to you.
Yeah, I think he becomes disposable, or use and throw away because his relations with players are what hurts him the most. I think tactically and stuff like that, he's a smart dude, but he's not a good people manager. And let's face it, man, I mean, as these squads get deeper and more tournaments and all that kind of stuff, and the power of the players are going up and up due to the money they're coming. I think we were talking about this yesterday. You have to be that's almost like the top quality now for manager over tactical stuff. You rather be a guy like Klopp, I think, who are good with players and have assistants doing the tactical crap. Because that's a lot, I think there are a lot more guys who can do that. There are not a lot of great managers because tactical stuff, you can be really great with like moving things around and like seeing things and setting things up and all that. But if you can't handle the people doing it, it's worthless. And I think that's why, it's easier to find a guy who can do that, but not as easy to find a guy like Pep or Klopp or, who's going to be managing a team. And people who are top players are going to be okay with coming off the bench or sitting on the bench or coming out of the game and stuff like that. That's like the harder part. I told you that Alan has connections, and Alan does have connections. Here we go. Here come the texts. He's quite the ladies' man, looks like. Will you come to London to be naughty? This is a great way to end the show. So that after this, you guys can start texting people inappropriate things yourselves at work. But will you come to London to be naughty? The answer is no. And then obviously naked. Obviously, I mean,
the lowercase no. So the like, I'm in the passenger seat of a car, just going nah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Naked, obviously, not obviously. He's like, send the pic. I'm naked. And yep, now I'm sure like his wife will be proud of this achievement over here. But yeah, it's not even. Thanks, Alan, for sending this, by the way, because it's good humor. I did not see that because I saw the thing, but I did not even click on the headline, to be honest with you. Leave it to Alan to dig out some text. Alan's probably trying to get material so he can start texting people. That's why I'm assuming he's doing that. But thanks to Alan for sending.
Alan, do not use those lines.
No, you cannot use those lines. Well, now I have to change my entire repertoire because this whole can you come to Chicago to be naughty thing apparently is not going to be working for me. So I got so I'm going to spend the rest of the day brainstorming new texts.
Oh man.
Well, Trevor, thanks for joining us this morning. This is a great way to end the show, so you guys can go text all you want at your leisure. Just don't use these.
I'm sure there are more of those that you guys can find, and just I bet you it gets no better. So.
At least he didn't send like dick pics or something like that. Well, that was probably next because he says I'm naked. I don't know if it keeps going where this is gonna go.
So maybe don't search him then. Yeah.
Trevor, thanks for joining us. Great having you.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
And then we will see you again soon. Alan says thanks as well. Thanks for joining us, Alan. We will see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early.